Following the success of Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, the team behind A Quiet Place 3 will certainly look to bring back one of the stars of A Quiet Place Part 2, Cillian Murphy. Murphy starred as Emmett, a former friend of John Krasinski's character Lee Abbott, the father of the family at the center of the franchise. When the Abbott family encounters Emmett, he is a bitter and broken man, having lost his entire family in the days since the aliens first invaded the world. A Quiet Place 3 won't need to break its dead character rule for Murphy's Emmett to return. A Quiet Place 3 will likely fall right after the original sequel in the A Quiet Place timeline, so it would also make narrative sense for him to be back. More importantly, Murphy's return would strike a familiar chord with 2023's blockbuster Oppenheimer, which should help the movie's overall box office and story appeal. Oppenheimer's success means A Quiet Place 3 needs Cillian Murphy and Emily Blunt to reunite. The chemistry and star power of Murphy and Blunt can carry the movie. Cillian Murphy and Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer. The tortuous relationship between Cillian Murphy's J. Robert Oppenheimer and Emily Blunt's Kitty Oppenheimer was one of the highlights of Oppenheimer, and A Quiet Place 3 has the opportunity to recapture their chemistry. Their characters had limited interaction in A Quiet Place Part 2, but with Emmett potentially taking a more vested interest in the Abbott family after his time spent with Reagan, he and Emily Blunt's Evelyn may have a greater opportunity to play off one another. Very little is known about the story and cast of A Quiet Place 3, but it is currently on pace for release in 2025. Emily Blunt has already stated that she would only return if her husband, John Krasinski, directs, and in fact, she and Krasinski have already discussed the third film with Cillian Murphy. Murphy and Blunt may be pretty far removed from Oppenheimer by 2025, but they will certainly still be two of the most sought-after actors in Hollywood, and if they're both willing to participate, then A Quiet Place 3 seems very likely. How A Quiet Place 2 set up Cillian Murphy's return in A Quiet Place 3. Cillian Murphy's character theoretically survived the first sequel. While A Quiet Place Part 2 ended with Cillian Murphy's Emmett and Millicent Simmons' Reagan being cornered by one of the creatures, Emmett was saved by Reagan, who used her hearing aid to hurt the creature attacking them. By broadcasting the high-pitched frequency that her hearing aid created with the radio, Reagan also created a way to fight back against the creatures. During the course of their final battle with the creature who attacked them in the Radio Shack, Emmett's leg was slashed, but he seemed to survive the attack. More importantly, his reason for living and fighting on was renewed after his involvement with the Abbott family. In A Quiet Place 3, Emmett could act as a surrogate father for the Abbott family, acting as a protector and support system for Evelyn and her children. While it would not need to take a romantic turn, that setup would still allow for Cillian Murphy and Emily Blunt to reunite and once again explore the chemistry they discovered with Oppenheimer.